Hello and welcome to another episode of Perspectives Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about a person's weaknesses and flaws and how to deal with them. I'm here with my co-host today, Miguel Peggi. So to start off, Miguel, what are some of your weaknesses and flaws and how do you deal with them?
Um, that is a good question.
Mm,
I think I'm gonna have a statement for that. I think it's really difficult to point out your own flaws objectively. I think there's always gonna be some layer that kind of like puts on a facade of like not as bad of a weakness, right? So,
mm,
I'm trying to think of them, right, without trying to sugarcoat it and say like, "Oh, I'm only slightly this way." But I guess some of the things some of the things that some weaknesses that I could think of off the bat are um, I can get irritated very easily, and it
mm,
translates. So what I mean by that is I find myself almost having some type of transference. So I would transfer my emotions to something completely unrelated to what I was originally doing. So if I get frustrated on my work, um, that frustration will continue throughout a discussion with someone else, even though they're
mm,
completely unrelated. I feel like that's a really bad habit I have. Um, some other weaknesses are, I guess, I'm incredibly impatient in a sense.
mm,
Like I know everyone values patience, but I feel like oftentimes if I don't get what I want, once again, it goes back to the irritability. Um, yeah, I mean that's why I said my statement earlier. I think it's really hard to objectively point out your flaws. I think
mm,
like it'd be because like although you yourself spend the most time with yourself. Um, we always have this extra layer that protects our ego and doesn't like fully objectively point out our flaws. And
mm.
then I guess for strengths, it's also very similar. We tend to over exaggerate our strengths.
Right.
So I mean that's my initial thoughts. I'm interested to hear some of your weaknesses or what you think are your weaknesses.
I'm definitely a sensitive person. I definitely take things a little too far, or I think I take things too personally. Um, my number and my brother called me like, "Yo, why you stop being so sensitive?" And like that, it, like pierced my heart. I got so mad, like so fast.
Mm.
Um, I'm a pretty emotional person. Like I cry a lot. I feel like it doesn't sound like a weakness at first, but I feel like if things aren't going my way, I'll start like crying a little bit.
Mm.
Um, I'm definitely a terrible communicator. In person especially. Like it's hard for me to like look at a person's eyes or like talk to them like with body language. I'll get uncomfortable sometimes.
Mm.
Um, like, but how I deal with that, like I would ask like my parents or someone what are my weaknesses. And I remember my dad told me like the way I deal with people and how I deal with things. He said that um when someone's bothering me, I'll just isolate everyone and like go away. Like I remember I got into a dispute with my cousin and or my brother, and I like stayed in my room for like 3 days straight, not talking to anyone. And I
Oh.
feel like that is a terrible, terrible, terrible habit, especially when I get older. Um, I have family or kids, like if I or even in the workplace, like dealing with people. Like, I can't just not talk to my boss for days,
Right.
um, or like not talk to my kids for. That would only make things worse. Um, I do reflect on myself a lot. Like I spend a lot of
Mm.
time like thinking about my downfalls.
Mm.
There's just pros and cons to that because some pros are like you learn more about yourself. You learn how people perceive you and like cause and like ways to deal with it. Cons are that you start overthinking and you tend to blame yourself a lot. Or for me personally, I blame myself like, oh, like that conversation didn't go well because of me, because of my terrible communication, or like the reason we're having issues with someone, like I'm at fault. Um,
Mm.
there's some there's pros and cons to it. I have definitely have a lot of more weaknesses. Like I judge people. Like I like in my head like, oh, like why you fronting, bro? Like what are you talking about? But like
Mhm.
deep down, I know like, bro, I be doing the same thing sometimes. I be fronting or like lying to myself in
Yeah,
front of
yeah.
people.
No,
Be
let's
lying
be
to
real.
myself.
Everyone be fronting. Everyone be fronting every
Right.
now and then. It's just how it is.
Exactly. Like, and I think that comes from me being like isolating myself a lot. Like when I get in front of a crowd, like, oh, it's time to show. Like, bro, I'm tough at like you play Smash, bro. I'll whoop you in Smash, bro. Like,
Oh,
oh, you draw too, man. I'm nice at drawing, bro. Like, like, man.
yeah.
But in my head, like, man, I'm doing shut up, bro. Like, you better stay humble, like, because someone like
Yeah.
shut you down real quick.
Yeah. I definitely get that.
Right.
I mean, I think like kind of going back to the front end thing. It's like people, everyone wants to be perceived in a certain way, and I
Right.
guess like no one says like, yeah, I'm a dumbass that has these bad skills and I suck at this. Like
Mm.
no one tells you that off the bat. They might say it sarcastically,
Right.
kind of like teasing and whatnot. Um,
Mm.
but I think it's kind of interesting. You made some points that I want to discuss on, and it's like you had mentioned that it's like you think a lot of things are your fault, and it
Mm.
ends up being. And I think I find it very similar, but my approach and my ideas from that are that's at. I think we I think we kind of experience and think the same way, but at a certain point, I think the way we think about it diverges. So let me elaborate on that.
Okay.
Usually what happens for me is I definitely overthink as well. And oftentimes I think, oh, I could have done this better, or that's on me, right? And I'm pretty sure I'm doing it too often as well. Instead of like lamenting about it, what I end up doing is I end up like kind of over obsessing about it, and I'm just like reading a bunch of the shit. Like so if I have an awkward conversation, I'll be like, damn, I blew ass there. Like I was super ass.
Mm.
And then you'll find me for like the next hour or two just reading on how to have like conversation skills. And then I'll try it out the next time.
What?
And I get super obsessive, and it's like, and I guess like we both overthink, but it's interesting to see we have different approaches to how we deal with that.
Mm.
Like I know I get really obsessive about things. Like if I make a mistake or I'm awkward, like I'll end up like analyzing it for like the next for several days, and I'm like, okay,
Right.
I have to do this and that and this, and I'm like, damn, like, and it's exactly what you said. It's all in your head. Like all of these things are just like thoughts that like you're definitely overthinking. Um,
Right.
and even this, right? Even a good example would be what I'm discussing right now, right? I've like I've over explained it to the point where it's like it wasn't really that big of a deal in the first place, but
Right.
by thinking it over and over, it has now become a larger part of what's inside my head.
Mm. I'm curious to why you say um you're over analyzing is a weakness. I feel like if used in the right situation, it can be. I feel like 'cause overthinking and overanalyzing, I feel like that's different.
Right.
I feel like I'm curious to why you say you're overanalyzing is a weakness.
Um, I think the reason why I think overanalyzing, right, is
Mm.
a weakness is because of the over part, right? Because there's
Right.
analyzing, you can analyze a situation, but it's inherent in the word choice. So when you're overanalyzing, you're already doing too much.
Right.
Um, I'm trying to think of a good example. It's like, okay. When you're trying to find a fit, right? A nice fit, you're like, holy shit, this cracks.
Right.
Like, you can put on whatever, right? And you'll still look great, right? But then sometimes you overdo it, and you're like,
Exactly.
oh fuck,
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do anymore, right? It's like, okay, I
Mm.
like this and that. It's like, dude, the first thing you put on looked straight. That was chill. And I think that there's analyzing, right? Because you took the steps to think about what fit would look tough and what top would work well with the bottom, and then you got your shoes to your
Right.
shoes. But then like when you start stressing out and you're like, okay, but I have this, and then you start switching your clothes. It's like, okay, that doesn't work, or never mind, let me go back. That's when I think it's a weakness,
Right.
and I find
Okay.
I have a really bad habit of doing that. Not just with like clothing, but like in almost all aspects of my life. So kind of painting, right? Instead of painting, what did I tell you I ended up doing? I ended up
You.
looking up YouTube videos over and over to like understand it. It's like, dude, if you want to paint, just paint. Figure things out
Right.
yourself. You sure? I'm not saying watching and learning from YouTube is bad. I think I actually promote it, and I support it. But when you spend more time like trying to learn it through YouTube videos instead of actually painting, that's when it becomes over. That's when it's an
Exactly. Yeah.
over analyzation.
Mm. Okay, I can see that. Um. Another one of my, I feel like another one of my weaknesses is um my ADD,
Mm.
because I tend to like zone out a lot, like a lot. And I remember I was in my lecture today for this philosophy class, and they're using like these big terms. I'm like, bro, I have no idea what's going on right now. So my mind, just by habit, just started zoning out and like thinking about like other things, things I did yesterday. And then my teacher asked a question, and I'm like, huh, what? And I have no idea what just happened. And
Mm.
like I try to like use context clues to figure out like what do I say, like, or how do I act.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely get the ADD thing. Like
Mm.
I find I find that I'm also somewhat similar. I don't know if I have ADD or not, but um, in your case, what you had mentioned is like zoning out and like um, I mean, it's almost also like the stimuli, like that of being the class, is also partly to blame. Like if the class was more interesting and there was more opportunities for interaction and whatnot, um,
Right.
then it probably wouldn't be as a big of an issue of zoning out um, and I too zone out when like I don't really understand things. It's like I can't figure it out, so I'll just pass and I'll think about something
Right.
else. um, I mean, it's a good thing that you mentioned like you had mentioned like larger words or whatnot. Like, if I'm gonna be honest, I think language, like the whole point of language is to share information. So like these
Right.
complex words are kind of like pieces of shit. If I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest,
it pisses me off a little bit, not gonna lie.
because it's like, look, the whole point of language is sharing information or trading information. Um, and you want to be as concise as possible. So I used to be like that guy that like grammar has to be perfect and everything, and I still somewhat
Right.
have that. I still somewhat have that approach, but it's like as long as people understand each other, it really doesn't matter how things are spelled.
That's what I'm saying, bro. Exactly.
Like fundamentally, if you even if I spell cat wrong, but you know what I'm referring to, there's literally no merit in pointing out that it's spelled wrong.
Right.
As long as the other recipient understands the information, then it's all the same.
Yeah.
You've just added they what ends up happening is the other person has just added more complexity and added another step.
Mm.
I thought about this like I don't remember when I think about like things like this, but I just remember thinking about it. I was like, dude, language is all about being concise and
Right.
trading information.
I have
Yeah.
a scenario for you.
Oh yeah,
Let's
shoot.
let's let's say we're in person and we're talking. Let's say, we're talking. Or yeah, we're in person and we're talking, and I start like looking around or fiddling with something in my hands, and like
Uh-huh.
on the outside it looks like I'm not paying attention.
Uh-huh.
How would you deal with that? Would you like look at me like tell me like, bro, you paying attention, or do you just or would you continue talking?
Oh no, I think you know me well enough to know that I'll just keep on talking. Like that's just like I'm a bit crazy because like once I start going, you can't really stop me. I
Right.
just get going.
Uh,
It's like I'm starting to rev it up and then bam, just all
mm,
comes down. I think what you're trying to like point out is like the nonverbal communications.
mm,
And so like when people tend to not pay attention to someone, or when it seems that someone else isn't paying attention, you both parties end up losing interest, or
mm.
one party gets annoyed and whatnot. I think it
Bro.
differs from person to person. I think close friends probably wouldn't mind. I think it's all the same. But I think that people that you've just met that don't know much about you in this instance would see that as a negative cue, a negative
Yeah, yeah.
nonverbal cue, right? That being said, it goes back to like if you know the person or not. If you know the person is just like that, then it'll like there's no problem whatsoever. But
Right.
first impression and whatnot are pretty powerful. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's true.
and from what I understand, whether you like someone or not is mostly reciprocation. So if you like someone and or if you try and if you like being around someone but they don't like being around you, what ends up happening is you will also end up losing interest. And that
Really?
I'm hoping that relates back to the point the question you asked. Because
No, it does.
if someone's incredibly interested in the conversation and the other person doesn't show interest, what ends up happening is that the initial party, the one that is very interested, will lose that interest because they're not being reciprocated.
Mm.
And that's also very similar to love, or not
Okay,
exclusive to
okay.
love, but just emotions in general.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's contagious.
Then that thing, now I feel like I made a bunch of terrible first impressions with people.
Yeah, but it's not
um,
something that you should like lament over, right? It's like
right,
okay,
yeah.
it's like I do this bad. This is what I'm gonna try and do next
Mm.
time.
But like I said, bro, I'm an overthinker, so it's like I always like, damn, I should have done this, I should have done that.
Mm.
Um, but the way if someone did that to me, um, I feel like I wouldn't mind, even as a new person,
Uh-huh.
because my personal experience, like I do the exact same thing, so I can't be a hypocrite and get mad about it, even
Uh-huh.
though I do the exact same thing. So
Right.
like it wouldn't bother me.
Mm. Yeah. I guess it also depends on like case by case, right? Because that's a
Right?
good
Yeah.
point you mentioned. It's a good because you understand from experience. Like
Yeah. Exactly.
you yourself are how can I say this? You yourself are guilty of doing that. So
Yeah.
when you see someone else doing it, you're like, okay, I totally get it.
Hmm. Damn.
Yeah.
When's the Do you still like meet like people often, like other than the postal service? Like, do you go out?
That's funny. Do you talk to anyone else except the people that you? No.
That being this, nah, my bad, my bad. That was a weird
No.
question.
I mean, it is what it is. Like
Mm.
the people I talk to the most are probably the people I have. Like I call them like Discord friends, but I
Mm.
find them probably one of the best friends I've ever had.
Right.
I haven't met them in person. We're still planning to,
Mm.
but they they're like online friends, I guess. But I still deem them as friends. They're
Mm.
the people I talk to the most. So
Mm.
I also have I'm pretty excited, but I'm also incredibly nervous. I actually have a date tomorrow, so we'll see where that
What?
goes. Yeah, we'll see where that goes.
What? My man. Okay, I see you, man.
Yeah.
Where you we're getting off. I'm getting off topic, but what do you plan on doing?
Okay. Here's the plan for right now.
Mm.
Uh, we're gonna go to a cafe or something. We're gonna grab coffee, and then we're gonna go thrifting.
Ooh.
What I propose is we each have $20 to spend on each other, and then we will whatever we choose the outfit for the other person at the thrift store, we will have to wear that for the rest of the day.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's
That's
the
actually
plan for right
nice.
now.
That's nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, another question I have, like, for like girls and like intimate relationships, like how would you deal with them, like their flaws? Like
Okay.
a girl you're interested in, how would you deal with? Like, would you like ignore it or like would you like address it?
First things first, I'm probably one of the worst people to ask that question to. Like, I want to get that straight out of the way.
Right.
But I would still like to answer the question.
Mm.
For me, I feel like I'm a pretty straightforward person, right?
Mm.
I feel like if there's some issues going on, I will definitely address them as soon as possible. I don't like because you mentioned you don't like you're not that great of a communicator, and
Mm.
sometimes you like shut yourself and refrain from speaking and sharing your ideas and whatnot.
Right.
For me, it's like, dude, I don't like, and I guess this comes back to like the difference in our approaches. But like when I have problems like this, I will continuously stress about it. So what I do is I solve them right away, or I try to at
Mm.
least, because I
Mm.
hate thinking about it. Because I literally die inside. I lose a day of my life every day thinking about shit like this. So I will my approach is immediately address it and try and work things out. Somewhat of like an arbiter or a uh, well, there's a term for it, a mediator. I tend to be mediators in these situations,
Mm.
and
What
I
does a
find
mediator mean?
solutions. Mediators are kind of are people that bring two parties together and find solutions for each other.
Okay.
Um, I know that's like three parties in that scenario, right? But like I would also be one of the parties and a mediator at the same time.
Right.
Um, Now that's not always the case, right? Sometimes you can't solve issues right away, like just like that, at a snap of a finger. Like that's not realistic.
Exactly.
Um, so once again, right? I hate always using this excuse, but it's a case by case basis, right?
Right.
I find we
I
come
mean, you're
back to
not
that very
wrong.
often. It's very case by case basis.
Right. Damn, bro, I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
Oh
I'm kind of
man.
nervous, kind of excited. Like who knows? Like
Everything you like you just talked about is gonna happen tomorrow. Like, what do I
yeah,
wear? Like, do I do this?
yeah. And that's a good point, right? Because like maybe that was some type of Freudian slip, where like, the reason why I was talking about that is because it's already in my head. There are things that I'm
Right.
thinking
Yep.
about, and
Exactly.
and that's why I'm telling you, like, dude, I overthink things too, but I'm just like, I just try and deal with them as soon as possible because I just get stuck.
Right.
I know I get stuck. Yeah. What are your approaches, and how do you think you would handle it?
For a relationship,
Yeah, yeah.
definitely, I'll probably like keep it on the low. Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't address it right away. At least
Right.
not in public. I would like if we're like at
Mhm.
like a home or like at like a private area, I would do it very subtly and like
You're the type of like
I
the
pick
silent
around.
type.
Yeah,
You're
I pick
it's
around the
like
bush.
yeah, the silent treatment type, and then it's like, babe, what's wrong?
Right, nothing, nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like an example would be like, let's say that like we're eating dinner and
Uh-huh.
like she's chewing extremely loudly. Like I'd be like, it's like I'll be like, are you okay? Like, I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. So
Yeah,
like indirect
yeah,
in.
exactly. But I feel like that will bother a lot of women because it's like, because women are they're very smart. They know what a person's trying to do.
Mhm.
Like okay, what is he getting at? Like he's trying to like lure me into something. So they'll think about it too, and they'll just get irritated. And it's like yo, I feel like that only make the relationship worse.
Mhm.
So I feel like being straightforward sometimes is like the best approach.
Right. Yeah, I definitely. So that's a great point you made, right? Because like you mentioned women are incredibly smart, and
Mm.
I completely agree with that. I think the woman's, I think woman's social intelligence is much higher of that of a man's.
Yeah.
And I think there's actually a great explanation. So think of like I don't know what it is with my infatuation with like always referring to like cavemen times or whatever. But I mean all this technology and modern shit is like very recent. So
Yeah.
I love like pointing out to so before as the males were like hunters, um, while the women were also gathering, right? Because you have your hunters and gatherers. Women tended to have more relationships with more people than men,
Mhm.
and that's not like it's not like sex relationships, but it's just relationships in general. They speak with more people, they interact with more people, they have a larger pool of people to speak to and talk to. They have to work in multiple fields with more people. Because like back in the day, men we kind of just like hunted and ate and slept and fucked, and that was it. You know,
Mm.
women tended to be mothers. They also tended to a lot of other things, right?
Mm.
I guess I want to say housework, right? But the thing is, houses didn't exist back then. You know, like um, they. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is women had way more social interactions, more opportunities, and are way more experienced in
Right.
social interactions, way more than men. Um, so without a doubt, women's social intelligence, the way they read nonverbal cues, like everything, their social intelligence is way higher than men's.
Mhm. Which and that and that like knowing that it makes you nervous to talk to a girl or address a problem
Hmm.
because they'll probably see right through me. I'm like, ah, shit. Like, what do I say? Then.
Uh, I mean, just fake it till you make it. The,
Right.
the good old cliche, fake it till you make it. But don't stray too far away from what you actually are.
Right.
Cause like,
Just be confident.
yeah. Cause like, faking it till you make it is some type of like lie as well, right? Because if you're faking it, you're lying.
Mm.
Um, and we all know that like lies eventually never work out. Because like, I actually love that idea that, um, it's like lies end up always horribly.
Right.
Somewhere down the line, it just gets shit. There's some white lies you can get away with, but most for the most case, lying always leads to trouble.
Mm.
And I know that firsthand, like by far.
Mm.
Um,
I have a very a good example. Like 20 minutes ago, not 20 minutes ago, like about 45 minutes ago, I was sitting with my family and like my dad was like telling us a story and like I was just like sitting there like like zoning out and he was like, Abdul, you okay? I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, no, you're not. Like, you're lying. I'm like, oh shit.
oh,
And like no one has ever actually like said no, you're not. Like that. So I was like, oh damn, like calm me off guard a little bit.
oh,
I was like you know what? He's right though. I'm not. It was like I don't know. I thought that was interesting.
right. Yeah, calling you out on your shit.
Right.
It's always good.
Who for you who calls you out on your shit
Um,
like who's like
I don't think I can remember a case where people called me
or
out for my
or is
shit. I
it
think it was more of like I told a lie that got me past something, but then eventually came back around,
mm,
and and then the problem became worse.
mm,
Um, I guess like maybe grades. I guess for a while. What's
mm.
kind of funny enough is throughout middle school, I actually faked my report card.
What?
I actually faked my report card.
How did you pull that off?
So when we were in middle school, my some of my grades were poo poo, like omega poo.
Right.
Cause okay, I don't here I am gonna have like some form of scapegoat and make excuses, but I'd like to tell this story. Um, so I moved in halfway through sixth grade. Um, and so my grades at the time were great, but then I still felt like I never really fit in. So my focus changed from getting good grades and actually paying attention in class to becoming popular and making
Right.
friends. Because I didn't know anyone. There was already
Right.
like there was already status quos and there was already groups, and I felt like I wasn't part of anything. So a
Right.
majority of the time, so I switched my focus from actually learning and spending time, like paying attention in class and getting good grades and whatnot and doing assignments, to like trying to have as many social interactions as possible, making friends, getting into those groups. And so that's when my grades plummeted. At the
Mm.
time, I was like, "Fuck, I can't show my parents this. Like they'll disown me, right?
Right.
Like they'll blow a fuse." So what I ended up doing was I got my report card. I scanned it into my printer. I scanned it in
Oh.
my printer. I copied numbers that were already in my report card because it was the exact same font, and then I cut them and placed them over other numbers.
Oh.
And so
Bro, what?
numbers and letters. And so the thing was, the report card was double sided. Okay, the only thing I couldn't replicate, since the report card was double sided, I ended up scanning it. I scanned both sides and I printed it on the same piece of paper. I just flipped it, and it took
Uh,
me. I think I after maybe like 50 pages of trial and error, I finally got I finally got the method down and the copy down to get like it
50 pages,
exactly.
bro.
I dude, the other
You were
ones were
down bad.
yeah, the other ones were not believable. I can say that for sure. Like the spacing was off. Sometimes it didn't scan right, and it was a bit tilted to the side. It was a bit tilted. Like until I got like some copies that like could definitely pass. The
Mm.
only thing I couldn't get was the material of the paper. Because remember the report
Yeah.
cards, they were thicker. So
Yeah.
that's the only thing I couldn't get down, but it still worked at the time. I still haven't told my parents this, so I'll tell
Damn.
them down the line. But it was in middle school. I found that hilarious. I would do. My heart was beating so hard. That's actually one of the lies. That's one of the few lies that like didn't have any major repercussions.
Right.
That was like that's one of the few lies. But yeah, that's a story in how I cheated my report card.
Do you regret like switching from like learning to like trying to be popular?
It's hard to say, because that's a
Mm.
while ago.
Yeah.
Like, who knows? Maybe if I just focused on studies and didn't really care, I might be super depressed and
Right. Yeah.
oh, I have no one to talk to like ever. I may have not developed any social skills with that. It's hard
Right.
to say exactly, right? Because like that's so far long ago that there's so many interactions that happen in between, for
Mm.
me to like actually weigh whether or not it was worth it. The reason why it is I can say that it was worth it is because I wasn't caught and nothing happened, you know.
Right.
Or I guess that wasn't the question. The question was, it was whether or not social skills or not. I'd say my middle school years were pretty good. Definitely towards the
Mm.
end, I felt pretty good.
Mm. Cause for me, I did the kind of the opposite.
Oh.
Um, like from far as I can remember, I always try to like be popular or fit into a group. And then one day I'm like, I'm tired of this. Let me focus on my own
Uh huh.
educational um, strife.
Uh huh.
And I was thinking to myself, like, what if I like from the beginning I was always into education?
Hmm.
Where would I be? I feel like it would have been better because I would have a strong foundation and like good study habits. Not just for school, but like when I get like a job or like and like further down life. I feel like having that foundation would have made it may have helped. But I don't know. Like
Mhm.
maybe because the pro to that, I know how to navigate in a room full of like I'm not the best communicator, but I know how to navigate. I know how to do the bare minimum to get through a conversation.
Mhm.
And like get around. Like I can, let's say I'm in a room full of like future investors or future or professors. I can talk to the professors and like have a couple of laughs, talk to some investors, um, and then like be out the room.
Mhm.
and that came from like growing up in like different neighborhoods. Um,
Right.
so I feel like that's a pro, I guess.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, it's
Yeah.
because like it's hard to say like what decisions you made, like whether you would have liked to do it again or not, and like where you would have ended up. Like, it could be something very minor. So like me deciding to buy a lottery ticket as soon as I turned 18, just for the hell of it. Like, I could have been a millionaire, you know, like if I actually won the lottery, right? I think that's an extreme example, but what if you actually got the courage to talk to this girl? Like, how would your life be different? You know,
Hmm.
um, and kind of similar to what you're mentioning. It's like these very small decisions could end up like dictating whether you have certain skills or not.
Right. I was gonna say, there's another flaw of mine I wanted to mention.
Flaws.
Um, it's when it's when oh, it's when like someone someone compliments me. Let's
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, a girl say, oh, you're so wholesome, like, so humble. I feel I brush I'm very it's very easy for me to just brush it off and like not believe them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that's a flaw because it's like um you're pushing away a reality or you're pushing I'm pushing away a perspective of someone has on me, and I feel like learning the perspectives people have on you is important because they can help you with your own self identity and
Oh.
your own self growth.
Mm-hmm. I see. Um.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. If I ever do get compliments, like it's kind of like, oh, I'm trying to be flattered, you know. I'm like, I get kind of nervous. It's like, oh, I don't know what to say. Thanks, so I guess.
Hmm. Right.
For me, it's I tend to. I mean, that's just interesting take, and I guess that kind of relates back to like the different approaches for our weaknesses.
Hmm.
Um, you said you don't really believe them, and you tend to like push like dismiss it.
Right.
For me, like I've kind of adopted the saying where it's like I just tend to believe whatever people say. Like even if it sounds outrageous, it's like I just give them the benefit of the doubt. And
Really.
I guess that goes for if someone tells me like, "Yo, like I just bought a Lambo or whatever," right? And I know like most likely they probably didn't. I'm like, "Dude, just believe it cuz like it's like whatever." You know.
Hmm. Where does that come from? Like, have you always been like that, or like?
I mean, I used to like say like, "Oh, bullshit" in my head, but it's like, dude, I just give people the benefit of the doubt. I don't know. I think maybe it was like in when I first started college or something, or maybe when I was experimenting with shit. Um, I ended up just giving people the benefit of the doubt because it's
Where?
like I don't really lose anything. And if anything, that probably helps me with the relationship with the person. Um,
Hmm.
if the person's full of shit, you know, I'll just like I'll still give them the benefit of the doubt, right? But if I have reasonable evidence that they're full of shit, then I'll be like, yeah, okay,
Hmm.
that's not true. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know why I have adopted this way of thinking, but it's just like I don't lose anything. I guess
Hmm.
that's the way I saw it.
You
I didn't
think
lose
so?
much. Yeah. Even if they are lied to you or whatnot, it's like you'll find out. Don't worry, like believe me, you'll
You
find
don't think
out.
it's wasting? You don't think it's wasting your time?
I think it's a very small amount of time that it's
What?
only wasted if you believe it's wasted.
Hmm.
So like if someone gives you a compliment, for instance, right, in the scenario you would mention, it's like you don't really lose anything, right? Like by believing it. Like oh,
Hmm.
you're so wholesome, and then and so let's say you did believe it,
Hmm.
even if you know the person's full of shit, right? Someone just told you you're wholesome. In fact, if you end up do believing it, like you kind of gain something. You kind of gain affirmation of being wholesome, and then that makes you feel
Right.
good. So you haven't
Right.
lost anything. You only have potential to gain.
Huh.
Um, that with that being said, right? There's times, and once again, case by case basis. Um, if someone's telling you an outright lie, that is complete bullshit, right?
Mm.
Complete bullshit. You have two options. You can believe them or you can call them out and say that's bullshit.
Right.
Um, I think both have actually advantages. Calling them out on the bullshit solves the issue immediately, you know. But now you are on negative terms with the person. By just believing them and just going with it, you end up knowing that they're lying, so you have this is kind of sinister, but you have leverage on the person because you know that they're lying and you maintain a positive relationship at the time. And with that leverage, you I know this is kind of I'm a psycho. With that leverage, you can choose to cut them off or you can use it to your advantage at any given time.
Mm.
It's a definitely if we get into my psychology, I'm definitely a lunatic, but it's exactly the
Man,
saying where it's like keep your friends close and your enemies closer.
Hmm.
It's the same idea.
This man blackmailing people.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say blackmailing, but it's
That's blackmailing,
yeah,
bro.
yeah.
That's blackmail. That's the definition.
When I try and think about it, like if I know someone's telling a lie, and then I would reiterate it to them in a larger group of people with more people. I think that's one of the funniest things I've done. So like if someone's telling me some total bullshit, I'd be like I would bring it up in the conversation. Oh, remember that time you told me that? And then like you can see them get all like flustered and like and they start stuttering and it's like and then they start telling the story a little bit different. It's like we got him, boys. And the thing is, no one will know that he's lying except for me, and then I
Right.
just get my own personal satisfaction.
That's some diabolical shit, bro.
Yeah, I mean I haven't lost anything.
Right. That's funny. That's so yeah.
But if it's like a serious lie, like
Mm.
they're cheating you out of money or whatever,
Oh no, you
or
gotta bring that to light
relationship, right?
immediately.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's something not to be messed with. And not only like, especially with like money, bro. They'll kill you over some money, like a couple of dollars too.
Yeah.
Like yeah, something you cannot play with. Do you? I feel you might have already answered this question. Do you lie
Yeah.
a lot,
There's a few
or do
things
you
that
think
you
like lying
shouldn't interfere with.
is
Money's definitely like
like a
never.
lack
What's
of a
the
better
saying?
word? Do you
Never
think lying is a
interfere
good
with
thing?
a man trying to put food on his table, something like that. Hello. Hmm.
Hello.
Seems to cut out. Hello.
Hello.
Let's give us one moment. Seems that our call got interrupted. Um, we'll see what's happening as of right now.
Hello.
Yep. What's up?
There we go. My bad. I
Yep.
think my internet went down for a little bit.
Yeah. No problem.
Did you hear my question?
Um, remind me of it. I
It
may have
was
missed some of it.
um I was gonna ask, do you like lie a lot? And I was gonna the second part of the question is, do you, for a lack of a better word, do you think lying is a good thing or a bad thing?
Okay. This is where you can see the true nature of Miguel Pedgy. Uh, some lies are good, some lies are bad. That's
Mm.
I think I'll go back to my own statement. I'll double down. It's probably best in almost every scenario to tell the truth.
Mm.
Um, there are some instances where that's not the case, right? As always, case by case. If you're if a gun is held to your head and they say, uh, if your name is Miguel, you will die here. You know, I will say my name is not Miguel, like for sure, right? In that case, that's a lie. That's an extreme lie, and
Right.
that's an extreme case. Um, but more often than not, just lying gets you into trouble in terms of
Mm.
your relationships with people and what you can get away with. For example, the most recent lie I told was I was speaking with some representatives to UPS, and I I I I told them that the UPS truck never came to pick up my packages because I scheduled a delivery. I paid $7.75. I ended up missing the truck because I was sleeping or something. I don't know what the fuck I was doing. I was fucking around. I ended up calling them a few days later, and I told them that a truck never came, but I paid $7. I want I want a refund.
Mm.
That's completely on me. But they ended up giving me a refund because they believed me.
Right.
Of course, I was a little bit charismatic, and I was like, "Hey, how's your day going?" Had some small talk with the representative, and it gave them more incentive for them to give me a refund without too many questions.
Mm.
And I feel like that is acceptable. That is an acceptable lie. But as it like once again, it all depends on the severity of the lie. If you're lying about like cheating on your significant other, or you're lying about money with people and whatnot, like your lies end up stealing from other people, your lies take advantage of other people, then that's when it gets into gray territory.
Mm. I would
Now,
say oh, go ahead.
um, I just thought of another thing, right? Now, would you lie for several $1 million? You know,
Depends on the like depends on the situation.
exactly. It always
Mm.
goes down to the circumstances. So, let's say you have a significant other, but you guys are on super bad terms, and then she is a total bitch that just feeds off of you and just stealing from you, basically. She's a parasite. And you win the
Mm.
lottery. You're not married yet because if you're actually married and you hide it, you're going to lose all of it. Like, that's
Right.
the. But you're not married yet.
Mm.
I would instantly not tell her anything. I would just dump her.
Well, yeah.
Peace, bitch. And I guess that seemed as a lie, but it's like, but remember, we both argued that lying in relationships is bad. So
Mm.
it really is. It depends on the situation and the variables at hand. But you were
Mm.
gonna say something?
I was gonna say I feel like lying is good if the truth isn't like if the truth is there. Um,
Hmm.
so a small example would be I got a free game from Amazon. I got because I because the package came in and the case was broken. And I called them and said, "Yep, my case is broken. This is a problem." It's like, "Oh, you want a refund? Oh, not refund. Oh, do you want another copy?" I'm like, "Yes." So they gave me a free new game. But I was telling the truth, but I was also like lying. The game wasn't broken; it was just a disc.
Oh.
Um, extreme example is let's use the girlfriend scenario. Let's say she asked, "Do you still have feelings for me?"
Oh.
Um, you could like let's say like if it was a lie, you say, "Yes, I have feelings for you." You're not lying like when you have feelings for her, but you never told her what kind of feelings those were.
Oh.
Like they can be like, I have like friend type feelings for you, but I don't have a love feeling for you.
Oh.
Like I feel like that's okay because what like you never like you said like you don't know the variables. Maybe she's going through something like and like you telling her you don't love her may ruin like break her down, but you still do have feelings for her.
Oh.
Um, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, it does.
Mm,
It definitely does. It's there's a term for that actually. There's actually a term for that. I just can't
really?
remember the term.
It kind of sounds like manipulation, but let me lying with the truth.
It's called double speak. There we go, double speak.
Ooh,
It's called double speak. I knew there was a term
is
for
it
it.
double or devil?
Double speak. Double.
Oh,
So a good
mm,
example would be the example that you actually just gave. You know,
mm,
saying that you do have feelings for her, but not specifying what the feelings are. That's a great
right.
example of double speak.
Mm. Yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah,
I've been
double
doing
speak
that
is
a
like
while.
using a lot of vague terms that connotate meaning or that hold meaning, but is open to multiple interpretations.
Mm.
That's one of the was a good example of doublespeak.
Now, would you, if a girl asks you if you still loved her, would you do like, would you tell her honestly, or would you do the double speak?
It depends if I actually loved her or not.
Mm.
If I did, then I would probably be honest. If I didn't, I would probably do something like some bullshit excuse. So kind of like the double speak.
Mm.
I'd find a
Mm.
way to around saying it without saying it. I'd be like, I know that it's like it's not you, it's me, right? But it's more of like a variation of that. It's like I don't think our situations benefit each other or something like that. I think that
Mm.
we need to grow as individuals or
Right.
some shit along those lines. So
Right. Um, I have another question for you. Now, let's say, like you said that how you deal with a person's flaws, like a person you just met. But what about with your parents? Because that's a,
uh-huh.
that's a different kind of like
Yeah.
a situation. Like you can't just like say be straightforward with them completely.
Uh-huh.
So like, how would you deal with like your parents' flaws?
Um, I would like. I think I already have. So I talked to my mom one time. I told her that you need to be a little bit more independent.
Mm.
Just outright. I think for my dad it's a little bit different because he's pretty close-minded and hard-headed, and it's really hard to influence him because like he just believes whatever he wants to believe.
Mm.
As for my mom, I told her she needs to like be a little bit more independent because a lot of times she was kind of like a damsel in distress where she wasn't. I don't want to call it useless, right? Because she's a definitely capable woman, but there's a lot of things that she should be able to do by herself, in which she required an obscene amount of help. And I was like, look,
Mm.
I can teach you the skills. In fact, I will teach you the skills. And it may have come from some form of resentment, just because it's like, look, I don't want to do this for you all day, every day. A
Mm.
good like one of the examples was placing orders on Amazon. Like both my parents did not understand how to place orders on Amazon, and I was like, look, this is a basic skill that will be useful to you guys every day, like literally almost every day, to
Right.
understand how to place orders and use credit cards online. So I taught them multiple times, but they seem to have never actually retained the information. And it's probably because
Mm.
I told them you actually have to try and learn this instead of just like using me for the time. Because the reason why I have some resentment, because I felt like they were just using me. Um,
Mm.
and I also was a little, I showed some resentment because like they're not willing to learn. But now they know how to do that shit, right? And I think they have both adopted approaches to like learning new things, which I think was good.
R-
Um,
Right.
in this instance, with my experience with my parents, I tend to not necessarily call them out, but I will give them the right push in what I believe to be the right direction. If I believe that they
Mm.
need to be doing things and their methods are wrong, I will not say it outright. I will give them incentives. So for this case, instead of saying like you guys need to learn how to do this, um, you guys need to learn how to place a goddamn Amazon order. Instead I gave them the benefits of being able to place an Amazon order. So I said
Right.
I gave them scenarios. What if I'm sorry, I'm not always going to be able to place orders for you guys, but what I told them was I can teach you. That way, whenever you need something, you can place it yourself, and it'll just be easier, right? I kind
Mm.
of I dodged it in a way that provided the benefits and gave them an idea, like a positive idea as to why this is useful to them or why they need to do it this way instead.
Mm.
But yeah, it's very difficult to tell your parents that they're wrong and whatever they're doing is
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
It's very, very, very hard. For me, I would for my dad, I would ask him questions. Um, for example, if like he's constantly asking me about like my future, and like it starts to bothering me, like I will ask the question, like, do you worry about me financially, or do you worry about my future? And like, I'll see the answer from that, and I'll like try to like, um, you know, one, like, let him know that like what you're saying is bothering me. So I ask the question like a certain type of tone, like, so like, do you worry about me? Like, showing him that's bothering me.
Mhm.
Um, for my mom, that's a completely different story, because of my dad. Like, it's easy to like talk to him like on a calm level, but my mom, it's um, like, if I say the wrong thing, it's a whole argument.
Uh huh.
So I would like,
Yeah.
I wouldn't, I'd like, I'll just like ignore it for now, or like use body language and show her that's bothering me, instead of using actual words. I'll use body language to show like something that she's doing is bothering me.
Mhm. Like the
Um,
slamming the door is one of what. Yeah.
yeah, or like walking a certain way or breathing a certain way.
Yeah. The exhale. The
Yeah.
yeah. We all
that's
know it. We all know it.
that's the yeah, that's the most common one. Like, ah, man, like
Yup. 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 Yup.
shit.
We're all guilty of it. You know.
Yeah, we
One
we
of
all
the
got flaws, bro.
one of the funniest things my parents always tell me is when we were younger, going to the movie theaters. Before they would, before we got to the movies, they say like, okay, we already went out to eat. We're not having popcorn or something, right?
Ah, damn.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The thing was like they were always teasing me because if I wanted popcorn, they would buy it for me. But like
Right.
they would say that, and I would just give them the exhales in the movie theater. Like we were sitting down watching the previews, and I would be like, right? And then my parents would always tease me, and then they were like, "Fine, go get." They give me $20 bill. Go get the popcorn, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, let's go." They would always retell that story to me on how
uh,
I was like that, and they always knew going into the movie theater that I would do that, but they would always love
right.
to get that reaction out of me.
Hmm. That's the You know what the funny, like, this is a actually, no, I don't know if it's a common saying, but I remember someone said that when a person passes away, the things we miss the most is like their flaws, or like the simple things we do.
Hmm.
Like, let's say, like, God forbid, like, let's say like you pass away, um like tomorrow, tonight, like, the thing that your parents might miss about you is like those moments when like you used to sigh because they didn't buy you popcorn.
Dude, that like
Or like,
actually, that like makes me feel like so weird inside. Like, I don't know
right.
how to call it. It's like, dude, that definitely sounds true.
Yeah. Cause like that, like, it stands out the most. Like,
Uh,
I think flaws aren't necessarily a bad thing. I feel like they're a beautiful thing. Like, even like in art or like illustration. Like, I remember listening to this Japanese manga artist, and he says sometimes he puts intentional mistakes and flaws in his work because it creates an opening for the viewer to see, and like it gives them a way to like enter the picture.
hmm.
Um, and like, everyone has their flaws. It's like, it's just human nature, and it's
Right.
like, and like in that and like if you get bothered by someone else's flaws, I feel like it's understandable, but at the same time, it makes humans are hypocrites,
Hmm.
because everyone does it. Like, um like, if I get bothered from like loud chewing, or like, um someone like being like if I get bothered by something by someone, but then the next day I do the same thing to another person,
Hmm.
it's like I'm only a hypocrite at that point.
Right.
And they are also necessary because it only makes us better people.
Hmm.
Like, I think you said this a few podcasts ago. Like, we need problems, otherwise it'll just be like, for stories. Stories need conflict, otherwise it'll just be boring.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's definitely true.
right. So I don't think flaws are necessarily a bad thing. I think it's the human mind thinks they're bad because
Hmm.
it like makes us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point.
Mm,
That's a good way to view it.
damn. Kind of miss kind of miss those young days
Yeah.
of
Just
me
less
just being
responsibilities.
yeah. I was a spoiled kid.
Yeah. I mean, we can still have them now, right? That's just a mindset
Mm,
thing.
right,
Man, it would be nice to come back home and then hang out with people.
right. Would you come back in like May, right?
Yeah, something like that.
We
What, like
definitely got to link, bro.
April? Yeah, I think late May, like 20th or
Word.
something.
Do you plan on staying in this area or like you trying to move out or anywhere?
Um, so I plan
It's
to.
a hard question.
I'm planning to live with my parents for a while, just 'cause like the deal
Mm.
they're offering me is so
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah, you did say that.
Um, we'll see, right? 'Cause like things can change, new things show up. Maybe another opportunity arises somewhere else, and it just
Right.
completely makes sense to go somewhere else. Um,
Mm,
my parents are still looking for a house right now, so
mm,
um, they're actually going to a house right now. So I think that's a good lead. So I'm very excited for them and happy.
word.
So we'll see, you know, because
Mm.
like I would like to stress about my living condition, but that's not something I want to add to my plate right now. There's a lot of other things I'm
Right.
concerned about.
Yeah.
I want to get to that when I get to that, and I feel like that's one of the things
Exactly.
I've been pretty good about. Cause like I already know that I just once I start thinking about things, dude, I get lost in my head.
Right. Yeah.
So the way I've another approach some things to combat that flaw, I guess, kind of like going around in a full circle. We finally got there. Um, as like I I structure my thoughts in a way that like if I don't need to think about it right now, then don't think about it right now, because then I'm wasting brain processing power on it.
Right.
It's like if and imagine if you do actually multitask your thoughts, then the overall quality of your thoughts, in my opinion, will be less or will be of much lower quality.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there's some good arguments by exposing yourself to multiple things at once. You actually get more perspectives. That way, you can approach your problems differently, right? So I guess that would be a counter
Mm.
argument.
Um. I I wouldn't like if someone gave me that kind of argument. It would be hard for me to like understand what they're saying. Because like even if you get like a million or a bunch of different perspectives, like that perspective can be like you haven't taken your time with it.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't dived deeper into it. So like you're only getting surface level
Mm-hmm.
perspectives.
Right. There's no depth to it.
Um, yeah, there's no depth. Um, I feel like for me like I keep like I try to keep like two or three worries at a time
Uh-huh.
maximum. Like
Yeah.
otherwise I'll go crazy.
Yeah. It's a
Um,
I love that. It's like you try and keep 2 to 3, right? But then when the fourth
right.
one comes around unexpectedly,
Oh my god.
you're like, bruh. Like I can tolerate 2 or 3 right now, right? But then like
Right.
another one comes around, you're like, dude, I hate everything. It's
Like
just that
fuck this
one
life,
extra
man.
thing that tips you over
Right.
there. Like you're perfectly fine being level at the top, but once that little
Right.
extra thing adds to the glass, everything just spills out.
Right. Do you have any last words?
No, I think I've covered everything I want to discuss today.
Um, I do not have. Do I have any last words? I guess overall, um, I guess don't judge, or at least try. I know it's hard, but try not to judge people.
Mhm.
Um, if you see their flaws, because like that flaw may make that person unique. Like that can be like the highlight of a person. Like I
Uh-huh.
guess like someone might say like over goofiness is a flaw, but like that goofiness may brighten your day. Like you know,
Right.
so it's like you know, at least try to like appreciate those flaws and make the best out of it. Will be my last words.
It's good.
Hmm. All right.
All right. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate everyone that stayed tuned up until now. Uh, Today we talked about flaws and how to our different approaches in dealing with them. Um, I can't remember our next topic.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we haven't decided our next topic for next Saturday, but we'll announce it as soon as we start the podcast. Once again, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Um, yeah. Hope our conversation has uh, exposed yourself to some more ideas and help you grow as a person as well. Yep. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Peace.